Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm your host, Jeff Howard, and I've got two people on Zoom with me right now. I've got Kerri Lee, Romeo, and Adam Leotta. Hey, you two.
Hi.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, and a couple disclaimers. Yes, I mentioned Zoom, which means you can't blame us for audio quality. Blame the Zoom Corporation. They do compress the audio a little. And there's a micro delay. I swear to you, Kerri, Adam, and I are not interrupting each other, but sometimes on playback, like, words get doubled over, just slightly, but we're not interrupting each other. That's the micro delay, the fact that our voices are probably going up to a satellite and coming back down, even though we're probably in the same city.
I'll be sure to leave a nice gap in between.
No, you don't have to worry about it. But I will now jump into it. Kerri and Adam are here to talk about their wonderful feature film that was in Sherman Oaks Film Festival last, probably November, because it was a November-December one, but I think you were near opening night. It's called Little Deaths, and what to say, you are both producers, you are both the key, as far as we use this term key cast, with the exception of a few extra type people who get to speak, you two are the entire film. You two and the environment around you. It's a film about two people. It's a fantastic movie. In fact, it won the Grand Jury Award for Best Feature Film, Our House Experimental, and it got the Grand Jury Award for Best Performance by a Cast, which happens to be the two of you, plus those wonderful people that you met in the Yucatan Peninsula and whatnot. I'll always remember that. But amazing film. And you want to tell people where they can see it?
Yeah, it is going to come out on TVOD, video on demand, digital, July 2nd. Just in the US, Canada, and the UK right now, and hopefully more soon.
Right. So the distributor for now is saying, let's stick to the English-speaking markets.
I think the distributor now has secured the English-speaking markets, and they're still looking to secure the international.
I'm really glad it's getting out there. And title unchanged?
Title unchanged.
Nice. That's not always a thing. Bravo. Yeah. I'm giving you both a golf clap. And all right. Before we talk about the film, let's talk about the two of you. You're both super talented and we're obviously a really big part of this film's quality and success. So do you want to talk about how you got involved in the creative arts and this crazy world of devoting years of your life to an independent feature film?
Yeah, I guess I'll start. Pretty good classic story. 5th grade, girl I liked was doing theater summer camp. And I signed up for the same school. It's like a after-school community theater. And I did that for about 12 years and stuck with it. And then, that's how I got my start. This is a great place.
Your focus has pretty much always been acting?
Pretty much, yeah. I would say that acting was like 75% of my experience with this stuff. As I got a little bit older, I would hang out with friends and we'd get pizza on Fridays and sleep over into Saturday and Sunday. And I'd bring a camera and we'd shoot little movies. And it was always great because I didn't do any editing. The only editing I would do would be to stop recording on a shot and then start recording on a new shot. And we just had a great time, and that was my experience with film. So it started with performing, then went into film with fun kid stuff like that.
And I got to say, the editing and camera thing, most creative people figure that out because you kind of figure that out for yourself, right? You're like, I don't know how to edit, but I know I want to go from this to this, so I'll just hit pause, turn the camera on the other person, and unpause. And I think that actually is a really good education on cinematography, and because it's like, talk about disciplined editing. Like, you got one shot.
Yeah, you're banging around, you're just diving right into it.
But you're visualizing what's on screen too, which
100%.
Everybody does.
Yeah, it's great director education. You got to know what you want everyone to do. You got to have the confidence to tell them to go there and do it. Your friends have no idea what you're trying to do. So
That's true. True. And with the acting, when college or high school, college, you was that the focus of your major and whatnot?
no, it really wasn't. I was going to go to I was really involved in science and stuff when I was in school. I wanted to, get like a degree in theoretical physics. And then my friends basically convinced me to go to school for acting because they said that I was good. And I was just like, all right, well, my friends want me to do that. I want to hang out with my friends. So I went to school and I went to school for acting.
Excellent. I got to tell you, I'm fascinated by both. I think theoretical physics kicks ass.
Yeah, well, it's like science fiction.
I watch all the Neil deGrasse Tyson videos I can at this point.
Sure.
And so you made acting. That was it. Like you were locked in with acting and.
Well, I wouldn't really say locked in, but my friend was a filmmaker, an aspiring filmmaker and director, and he was just like, he knew that I acted, and so he recruited me to help him work on his stuff. And so for me, it was just it was acting and hanging out with friends, and so we made a bunch of indie films together, and it was just each of us doing what we're good at or doing what we can do.
And I forgot to ask where you grew up.
From Los Angeles.
It's me too.
There you go.
And it is always interesting when one of us LA natives goes into the industry when you didn't, grow up in it, but we're adjacent enough to it that it doesn't seem like a insanely far-fetched concept.
Yeah, it was funny. I remember my mom tried to get me into a couple of like childhood acting modeling gigs. And it just didn't stick with me. Like I always had this anxiety and stage fright when approaching it from that avenue. But then when I approached it from the avenue of just doing things with friends, it was a lot easier. I was able to get a lot more done.
Yeah, so it really just took maturity and probably doing it for the right reason.
Doing it for the right reason, I would say, yeah.
Having a show mom who's like pushing it. I bet a lot of Angelino moms, though, and parents, I should say, Angelino parents are like, damn, my kid's pretty cute. Maybe we can pay off the mortgage if we get him in some commercials.
Why not? Put him to work.
I should be really angry that my mom never even considered it.
Yeah.
And I was cute. All right, well, should we, do you want to shift over to Kerri? You want to tell us your origin story?
Sure. I'm trying to. I was trying to think exactly the beginning, and I think it's because I think when I was around like 12, 13-ish, I developed a very big crush on Jonathan Taylor Thomas, like many girls my age.
Yeah.
And
That was from
I was like,
Home Improvement or
Home
whatever?
Improvement, yeah. I guess it kind of, something clicked in my head. I was like, well, if I'm an actor, I could meet him. And I think that got me interested in acting. And then I was a competitive gymnast for most of my childhood. And then we had a pretty intense drama program in my junior high. So I tried out for the play and I got cast, and then I quit gymnastics and started doing the plays.
And where were you growing up?
I grew up on Long Island.
Long Island.
Yeah,
Pretty far away.
Yeah, the entire other coast.
Yeah, thousands of miles. So, but gymnastics, I always see a connection, actually. I meet a lot of actors who started in ballet or gymnastics, like a discipline that requires repetition and training, really applies itself in a way to acting, right?
Yeah, I would say so. It's also physical, and yeah, I think there's a lot of dance. There's a lot of crossover with physicality, athletes, dancers, and acting, because your body and your physicality is your tool in acting. And I kind of switched back and forth between athletics and acting after junior high, the high school was all musicals, and I can't carry a tune. So I went back to sports, and I ran track and field mostly. I was like a Long Island champion of the triple jump, an all-state sprinter and a hurdler.
I mean, that's pretty impressive. That's not all state in New York. That's a high population state. So,
Yeah, I was pretty good. I was pretty well. My dad was a professional athlete, so I kind of cheated.
I'm not sure genetics is cheating. It still takes a lot of work,
A little bit.
especially for sports, I won't even get on the subject of what I call them, the Nepo baby. Yeah, the Nepo thing. Like sports, I'm sorry, anyhow. So high school it shifted back to sports.
Yeah.
And then college did it shift back to acting, or?
In college I took a couple acting classes. I was in a couple of short films in college, but I maybe not growing up in LA, never really thought that acting was something that I could do. I was kind of shy, and I was awkward looking. I didn't check all the kid actor boxes. So I studied philosophy and art history, and then I was a writer out of college. And then when I moved back to New York City, I got back into acting when the economy crashed, and I was like, well.
But it sounds like you were always, besides the sports, always interested in in your creative side. Because if you ended up writing, I mean, that's almost as crazy a choice in life as acting.
Yeah, well, that was I started doing journalism. I worked at a newspaper for a couple of years out of college, and then when I moved to New York, print journalism was sort of dying, and it was really hard to get paid, and the economy crashed, and I kind of just thought to myself, well, what is the thing that I would do for free? So I didn't really want to do journalism for free. And I realized that I would act. I would perform. I always liked to do that. And then I was in New York City, and why not give it a shot while there was no jobs to be had anyway. So
yeah, and I mean, talk about a place with, I mean, obviously LA is a great place for acting, but also I've often hear like New York with the stage scene and more live theater and more acting schools oriented around that seems almost better for a young person versus here where it's so industry. I mean, I guess that is industry focused, but
yeah,
I guess you know what I mean.
I started out, actually, I think I got my first role because a roommate of mine was making a short film for like a 48-hour film festival, and I kind of hammed my way into a role. I like put a costume on that the lead actress didn't want to wear because it was too hot or something, and I just sort of like created a character, and they put me in the movie. And when the movie showed, a friend of my friend was sitting in the audience. He was an MFA student at NYU at the time. And I guess his girlfriend leaned over at a certain point and said, well, that movie was terrible, but who was that girl that played like whore number 3? She was really good. So he
was that Horn? H-O-R-N?
Whore number 3.
It was like right. Classic cinema where women, right. Women are wives and hookers, right?
Yeah, it was like a Western, saloon whore. It was like I don't know what it was. It was bad.
It was bad, but you stood out.
Bad, but I was fabulous. And so he cast me in his. And I guess it was his first or second year thesis film. And and then I think somebody else cast me in something. I sort of thought, well, if people keep wanting to cast me, I should probably learn what I'm doing a little bit better. So I started taking acting classes, and then I started doing a lot of improv comedy, and that kind of, my actual career kind of took off, I would say, with the improv comedy, because I was performing every night, and I got an agent, and all that kind
Kind
of
of
stuff.
like the UCB path or something like it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I went to the People's Improv Theater first, and I did their program, and then I went to UCB and did their whole program. And I performed at both of them. I had an improv team. I was on at UCB. I used to perform in their they have a sketch program. So I was one of the house sketch actors, and I would perform all the sketches that the people graduating the program would write. And yeah, I met a lot of people through there, and I got a really great commercial agent through being improv. They love improv and commercials, and then it kind of just went from there. A lot of the stuff I did early on was comedy and commercials.
I mean, you're proving the trite maxim that people who excel at comedy can do drama, but not the other. Because I mean, Little Death, the film I know you best for. I know you were in ABD, but the film I know you best for. Not too much. There is some comedy, actually. Yeah. I mean, I'm letting the other scenes block it out, but yeah, like when you two, where your characters first meet, there's some humor and there's some humor in the voiceover, but you weren't called upon to be funny much in this film.
I like to think there is a streak of very dark comedy in this film, almost absurdist comedy at times that I tried to lean more into, but the director was a little bit against it, I think. But yeah, generally speaking, not so funny.
But I mean, I'm just trying to compliment you both in that, funny people actually excel, I think, at portraying emotion and whatnot. So, I mean, they're just excellent dramatic performances.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
And then what dragged you out to California?
Actually, this guy did, because
All right. Well, so now we can go to how the two of you met.
Yeah.
Because if it's not a secret,
met,
besides being on Zoom, I mean, you're friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I was in Utah, and we were editing a film that we had just shot, my friend and I, and we were preparing to shoot a new film, and we had met a woman, Nicole, on set for the film that we had just shot. And she provided us with a list of actresses to audition for this new film that we were shooting. And Kerri was one of those actresses, and we had a rigorous process, and Kerri was the number one choice.
So you ended up in Utah working on something, and then they gave you a list of New York actors?
It was just a list of actors from all over the country, really.
Yeah. But basically, Utah itself doesn't have the world's greatest acting community, I guess.
No. There wasn't any Utah. Utah, I was just there because it was beautiful and familiar with it.
Yeah. No, I got some family there.
Yeah. But yeah, so then we found, so we auditioned Kerri and thought that she was very talented. And so we were able to wrangle her. And then yeah, she and I have gotten pretty close. We're great friends. A very similar mindset. I spent some time in Long Island as well, just at a different time period. So we had a little bit of that shared history.
Yeah, and then I agreed to come on and help with the production side on the back end of the film, and that's kind of what brought me out to LA to help you guys kind of push it through post and beyond.
Which seems like a pattern for you. You do have a producer's mind.
Me?
Yeah, you. I'm sorry. well, because my impression as a festival runner is that, even if there's several names, like 4+ names listed as producers on the film, Little Deaths, you were the one who championed it. You were the one who got it out there and got it to festivals and whatnot. That's my impression.
Actually, Sherman Oaks Film Festival was this guy.
That is true. Yeah, Sherman Oaks.
Damn! So you just used Kerri's Film Freeway account, so it had her name on it.
Exactly.
Now, Kerri
I was
definitely
spearheading the
did
film
a
freeway.
lot. Kerri definitely spearheaded a lot of the producer's role and the producer's process. Sherman Oaks was, I admit, was me, but definitely wouldn't have been the same without Kerri. That's for damn sure.
Well, and needless to say, I'll still stick to my comment from a few minutes ago that, some people want to act and they don't want to have, and they just don't get involved in any other aspect of a production. Whereas it seems like you have this, both of you probably see the value in getting behind the camera at a certain level, whether it's producing or writing or directing, whatever it is. If you want to work and you want to make sure things you're in come out better, it's best to contribute.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can make a movie and it won't go anywhere if it doesn't have that production support behind the camera,
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I mean, I've made so many movies that sometimes you just don't even know what's happened to them, or
yeah.
I've made great movies that barely do anything just because they didn't have great marketing or they didn't have it together on the back end. And it just at a certain point, and it's so competitive, the acting world is so competitive that at a certain point, if you see an opportunity and you think that you might be able to help boost something a little bit more, I mean, it benefits you in your acting career as well.
It benefits you proportionally if you can be one of those initial forces to take the value of a film and push it forward as much as you can. Because otherwise, if you have a whole bunch of people doing it for you, you're probably not going to get much of the benefit out of the exposure. Especially with indie movies. Those require the most push.
Yeah.
In indie movies, I imagine people don't often, because normally it's the writers and directors on this podcast, and so they're they go from page to streaming service, so to speak.
Right.
But Lord knows, for an actor, especially if you're getting cast in lots of indie stuff, it must be really bittersweet if something is good and the people who made it, and it's very common. There's not a lot of overlap between the people who are talented enough to make a great movie and salesy enough to sell a great movie. And that's why mediocre movies get sold, because they're like good at pitching it, and great movies, like, I can name a great movie or two that's on someone's hard drive. They're like, well, I tried, I didn't really get it out there. And I'm like, oh my God, that film needs to be seen. And Absolutely. They're like, no, I let go of that 5 years ago.
Well, that's exactly why I kind of came onto this project, because I saw, the writer director, Brian, he's, really just like almost solely artistically minded. And he kind of writes things, shoots them, and then just is on to the next thing. And I saw that they had kind of a backlog of movies that haven't gotten out there yet that are good movies. And so I thought, well, I don't want that to happen to this one, because I think there's some value in it. And so maybe I'll just come and help.
Was that when it was still on the page that
No.
It was after shooting?
Yeah, it was after shooting, and after I sort of got to know Adam and Brian and everyone a bit more, and got
so
to
did you get cast and then pull Adam in? Or like you say, I know a great actor, or were you two cast separately?
No, I was a producer on the project.
Oh, you were a producer early. Oh, right. So you knew Brian
earlier on. And so I helped to hire Kerri. And then
right. So you're like, I know of someone who could carry this film.
Well, based off of what I saw in the audition, I thought so, just solely from a performance standpoint. I thought that she'd be good. And then afterward, it was after I got to know Kerri that I thought that she'd be a huge value in pushing the film out of just the hard drive and into the real world. And I think that she kind of saw the same opportunity.
All right, but so I understand it. But you'd already worked together before on the Utah production. No. This is the Utah production. This is whatever. This is.
Yeah, he was in Utah when he was casting the movie.
Casting this film. Oh, see, I always thought that was like some previous one, and then this was
No,
like
we were editing
collaboration
a
number
previous
2 or
film.
something.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. You said we. He meant him
I
and
meant myself
Brian.
and Brian, yeah. I was editing the prior film in Utah.
Him and Brian had. This is what your fourth movie,
Something like that, yeah.
something like that you guys made together.
Oh, now I get it. Brian Fulmer, right? I might as well
Yes,
say
Brian
his name
Fulmer.
for
The writer,
in case he's
director.
listening. You know, although obviously he doesn't give two shits about people Googling him.
Don't think he does.
I do remember him from the Q&A in the theater being remarkably humble. And anyhow, all right, so now I get it. Adam and Brian were in Utah.
Right.
Because they love beautiful landscapes and being away from the city or something.
There you go.
And then you planned out this film, and then you cast Kerri, and then you said to yourself as a producer, bring whatever is it called promotion? Whatever, pulling in Kerri as a producer will help get this film to a different level.
I mean, I was just like, man, I can't do this thing on my own. You know, I'm not going to do everything that needs to be done in order to get this thing and have a life of its own. And Kerri was there, and so it just seemed like a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and then there is I won't belabor too much of what we discussed at the Q&A at the theater, but I mean, just a great film. You all just did amazing work and did it through really difficult circumstances. I mean, if you want to talk about it a little, you can, but I mean, it came together fascinatingly, right? Because it was a film written before the pandemic about a disease, a pandemic style disease. So it was foretelling it. And then of course, by the time you got it finished and out there, it was post COVID. And like I already mentioned, the Yucatan, you went down to rural Mexico to shoot an indie film, which led to some of the most beautiful cinematography imaginable, just unbelievable. I don't want to use the word sets, right? Locations, unbelievable locations from the underground water sources to just everything about it looks amazing. But that must have been about as difficult to shoot as you can do.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was like being on a pirate ship, you know? It's like hopping off onto the coast and braving the wilds.
Gotcha. I'm just picturing you swinging from ropes. I didn't know where the pirate ship analogy was
swinging
going.
from ropes, machetes, fighting off bandits. But to me, that's the exciting part of shooting a movie and doing it with the right people, is the kind of people that can thrive and be adaptable and be improvisational and not be too stiff. You know, that's kind of I try to avoid being around people that are too stiff, because stiff means that you're not flexible, right? So we definitely got pushed to our limits as well. But yeah, it was. I think that one of the reasons that we got a lot of beautiful, unique material is that we allowed ourselves to go to some fringe extremes in terms of locations and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, you had also shot in Yucatan before, so you did know the area a little bit.
Too. Yeah, we've shot. I mean, we've probably shot in Mexico 2 or 3 additional times, including Brian on his own, who's been down there multiple times to shoot a couple of to at least shoot one short. I know. Mm-hmm. So we were familiar with the topography of the area, or the map of the area, and we did have some contacts that allowed us to find new areas or go to familiar areas. So it's not a completely foreign world to us down there.
Right, and you were able to communicate with people and say, "Hey, we want to show." I assume like the scenes with the locals, giving away clothes and whatnot. That had to be mostly improv.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, we didn't know where we were going to shoot any of these things until 2 weeks before we started shooting. Like, we got down there and we just started running around. We started putting 2 and 2 together, calling people up, asking them if they knew where we could get a cave or a lake or a structure. But a lot of those things we put together not too long before shooting. and we had to make them work. And I think the footage reflects that. I think that there's a lot of just kind of raw stuff that you couldn't script.
Not to mention, you managed to find people who look like local federales with AK-47 type weapons and stuff. Like you managed to, in that 2 weeks of prep, you managed to actually convey the sense of danger, which couldn't have been comfortable to pull off.
Well, a lot of it is, like Kerri said, Brian's very invested in the creative side. So he's very hungry for finding things that are immediately available to him that will be creatively useful. And it just so happened that we were able to discover a lot of resources everywhere that we went. So like for the guns, it just so happened that the sheriff of the town, which probably had a population of no more than 30, the sheriff had guns. He had like a little armory. So we were able to use some of those for things like that.
Which is amazing, because I don't think there's a sheriff in the United States of America who would be like, yeah, let's open up the gun locker for this indie film.
Yeah.
People were very accommodating down there.
Very accommodating, yeah. But also, it's like I said, I think part of it is because we've been down there before, and we surround ourselves with this team of people that are flexible, and
we had a lot of locals on the team as well.
And we absolutely did.
Yeah, we had a Mexican-based producer.
Mm-hmm.
We had a bunch of people based in the Yucatan that were working on the film, so that helped as well. And we also had a really small cast and crew, so we were able to be super flexible and just move with the wind and kind of.
Yeah, Brian shot it, right? Didn't he do most of the camera work?
No,
okay.
Yeah, he has shot some of your films in the past, but you hired the DP. No?
I did, yeah. I hired a DP, David Gordon, because camera is a lot of work, specifically from my experience, and I think Brian would agree, lighting. And so it's great to have, even if you're having a very small crew, it's great to have a DP to take care of those things. And Brian likes to be very involved with the visuals. But we had a dedicated DP, so a lot of the beautiful shots that you see in the film, I would definitely attribute to David. I think he did a great job.
And he does mostly genre films. He was very young. I think, what is he, 24, 25? He was at the screening. And he does mostly genre, primarily horror, but I think some period and Western. And he's very talented, incredibly talented, hardworking, like serious about his craft kind of guy. Rubbed heads with Brian a little bit, because they're very opposite personalities.
Oh,
he wanted everything to be planned, and Brian wanted nothing to be planned.
Also perfect.
But
And then you two sort of land in between. Well, you both enjoy improv, but with cinema, with film, right? Planning is what often makes it a success.
I like both. I mean, I like to plan so that I can, then I can be spontaneous. But I wasn't doing anything producing wise at the time. So I was just in my own little world, learning my lines and trying to be in this character. I give Adam a lot of credit, because you were doing a lot of producing at the same time as this incredibly difficult role, at the same time of, Brian berating you in scenes and telling you weren't acting well enough. And
my mouth is agape, by the way, since no one can see what our images on Zoom. Yeah, I mean, both performances are fantastic. Adam gives a fantastic performance. It's very funny, but I guess when you're friends with a director, the criticism is more.
Exactly. It's like, when my mom is trying to get me to audition for a TV show when I'm 11 years old, and I'm wearing a button-down plaid shirt tucked into khakis with oversized shoes. Like, the advice that I'm being given, the direction that you're being given, when it's coming from a friend, you're able to take a bigger load. You're able to take more criticism and not have your ego get in the way. And
we did a lot of takes as well. Brian likes to do a lot of takes. I think the first scene that we shot, which didn't even make it into the movie, we did 45 takes.
Yeah, 45 or 35. Basically, like you were mentioning, it was you can go improv or you can go planned. Both can turn out great results. I think you just need to pick one, and you need to do that one. And sometimes you can do one, and sometimes you can do the other. And from my perspective as a producer, being on set, I had the lives of 15 other people around me that we have to take into account. Planning as much as we can, probably the way to go. And then, so it was just balancing those decisions and also jumping into act. But makes it a memorable experience.
For sure. And did you remind me, was all the LA stuff shot first and then you went down to Mexico, or was it the reverse?
It was the reverse. We shot in LA kind of as pickups, as reshoots, in order to fill in things that just didn't quite feel right.
Right. So it was really to flesh out the story.
There's just a couple pickup shots in LA. I think it was.
There were a couple of things that we weren't quite able to do.
Oh, the party where your characters meet, right?
No, that was in Yucatan.
That was down there. Oh man, I'm forgetting. I should have rewatched our Q&A. You probably said that.
Part of the evacuation scene that we shot in Los Angeles. It was part of a flashback where Brian and Kerri's characters are talking, and Brian's character is leaving the house, conspiracy prepping.
It was a different sort of character in the scenes that we had shot originally. He was like more of like a military character, and then we kind of made him more of like a conspiracy theorist in the reshoots.
Oh, like he was a bit of a survivalist in a way?
He was more of like going to join a militia in the beginning, and then we changed that, or Brian changed it to him just being a little bit more of like survival, like
quirky,
survivalist, sort of just let's get out, or like going to a commune.
And I don't remember the answer at the time from last November, but I'm assuming I asked it. But while you were shooting it, did you get the sense that this was a particularly good one?
I knew that what we were shooting was unique, solely because the locations that we were shooting in were unique. So I knew that I had something good on my hands while we were shooting it, for sure.
I saw some of the dailies or some of the stills that the DP was pulling, and I mean, it just looks so beautiful and amazing. I remember when I first read the script, and Nicole, another producer who was the one that brought me on, I said to her, this is a super low budget film. This is like post-apocalypse. There's military. How the heck are they going to pull this off? Like, there's no way. And when I saw the first dailies and stills that the DP was pulling, I was incredibly impressed at what they had accomplished in camera.
But also the script was crazy. Like,
the script changed a lot.
The script itself was just very, it was very poignant. It was simple. It was straightforward. And it was crazy. So I knew that, like, if we could shoot this on a very low budget, and if we could pull it off the way that it's written and the way that it's, the way that it's suggesting that it should be done, that seems like a straightforward flick for sure.
Excellent, yeah. And I forget what I was thinking when you were answering that one, but because I think it just. Oh, I was thinking about the fact that you're releasing this sucker finally, and that with the cinematography and the scenes and the extras you use, I imagine the trailer can make it look like a million. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you must have a great trailer, I would think.
Well, we've got a lot of compliments on it.
Yeah, the trailer's pretty good.
It's sort of, we did it ourselves. We didn't hire a trailer house, which, I
mean, from the cave to the weapons to the this to that, like
the trailer is pretty exciting.
It is actually, for a film that I might have described early on as about your two characters, but it's a big world. There was real, genuine world building.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think the trailer definitely, hits on that and hits on a lot of like the high, thrilling aspects and high emotional aspects and the beautiful scenery and all the feedback we've gotten. So we haven't released the trailer publicly yet.
Trailer's pretty epic.
The trailer is pretty epic. Yeah, we have an awesome song that we licensed for the trailer. This like feminist punk band that I thought fit the vibe really well. Screamo, yeah, sort of like screamo punk.
I mean, I was gonna say, yeah, I guess we talked about it at the festival, but it is. I think I complimented Brian with his writing that there are times when you can tell that if a female lead was written by a male, but I think it's a proudly feminist film.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take too much credit for that, but I think I did have a decent amount of.
Well, I'm sure based upon what I've heard of this team and the two of you and Brian, if you said, "Hey, this dialogue's not working for me," then let me say this in a way that's more true to the character.
Exactly. There were a couple things. There were a good amount of times that I had to tweak it to make it more realistic, because it was pretty obviously written by a man who didn't experience life as a woman.
That's one of your main, well, not main, but that's a huge contribution I feel like that you bring to the table, is that you're not going to say a line and you're not going to let a line get said if it just doesn't sound right. If it's not coming out of the person, right? Whether it's you or whether it's another actor.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson.
Yeah.
As an actor.
You've learned that when you compromise, the regret is too much.
Well, I've just learned to trust my instincts. When I first started acting, I'd be like, this seems kind of awkward, or I don't know, maybe I shouldn't, and then the director would be like, oh, this is what I definitely want. And I'd be like, okay. And then I watch it and I'm like, I was right. Like that looks weird, or that doesn't sound right, And so it's always a delicate balance between not pissing off the director, but getting what needs to be said, and kind of standing your ground, because oftentimes, especially writer directors, are very protective over what they've written or what their vision is. But it's your face and it's you that everybody's watching. So at the same time, I think after a while you develop a confidence and ability to sort of just like dig in, and when you really feel like something needs to be a certain way, and hopefully be able to convince somebody, or if you can't, just go okay, and then just do it your way anyway.
That's an excellent trick. Good advice for the young actor.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, on the page was Kerri's character just. That character strikes me as an incredibly strong woman. And was it that way on the page, or did that come from the collaboration as well?
That was my take on it. My take on the story, like the arc of the character, was someone who wasn't an incredibly strong woman necessarily, but sort of finds that role through what happens to them, and steps into that. And I almost sort of saw it as a girl becoming a woman, almost character arc. So that's how I played it. That's how I went for it. If that was on the page, I don't really know.
That's always how I interpreted it on the page as well. A girl becoming a woman.
Yeah.
There are a lot of different ways that you can manifest that, but I think Kerri chose to emulate it in a way that was understandable to an audience.
Yeah. Brian is a man of few words about his art, so you won't really get from him, like what he is going for. Even if you ask, or I run that by, he doesn't really. He'll just be like, well, just say the lines. And Say the lines that I wrote. Or sometimes don't say the lines that I wrote. Throw away the script. Say whatever you want.
Right. Start improvising.
Yeah.
And my lines don't sound good.
Yeah.
Say something else.
Yeah.
Which actually, though, that is a sign of a creative person, I think, because it's the uncreative people are super protective of those words at all times.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're a creative person, you realize this can get better through more ideas.
That's the one thing that I respect probably the most about Brian as a filmmaker is that he's just always looking for the best film. And what is the best thing for this scene? Whatever is making it work the best, that's what we're going to do.
Exactly.
We're going to throw out anything else.
Yeah.
And I think that is so essential to making a good film. Too many people get stuck on the words on the page or how they thought it was supposed to be. And you do that with acting too. I mean, most great actors, you don't get stuck on what it should be, right? You have to make your choices, and then you have to just go with what is happening in the scene. And what the most interesting thing, and I think I learned that a lot from improv, because that's all you do. And improv is, what's working in this, let's go that way. And I kind of lost my train of thought.
Well, that is the disadvantage of planning a production too much. You think that you know everything going in, and when you have a big budget, you can control every element of your experience. But when you're shooting a low budget film, you can't. And so having someone that allows you to really lean into the emergent dynamic elements that are just happening there, it's opportunity.
I think that's why a lot of mainstream cinema can be very stiff. It can be very unreal, unnaturalistic, and where indie and more art house stuff can be incredibly real and, organic and just a totally different experience. Because those mainstream movies are so planned. And, everything, even that they're not even in the real environments, or, they're acting to a tennis ball, everything is blocked out. It's so insanely planned that I actually give those actors an incredible amount of credit for even being able to be believable in those situations.
No, not to mention that even at the script development stage, it's overly planned and looked at by departments and individuals who are just looking for marketing opportunities, merchandise, other things. There's a lot of non-creative thinking in all that planning.
There's so much business in what is being considered, in what they're going to shoot and what they're going to write and all of that. So many, I would say probably 80% of the decisions are being made because of what they think is going to make the most money.
Yeah. Whereas as a fan of, I just love movies but I particularly love indie cinema for that exact reason, is that I see more good indie features every year than I see good big budget Hollywood things, because the level of compromise that has to go into those big budget things. Every once in a while, there's a creative team that can manage to be good and big, but not too often for me.
I think with the auteur filmmakers, you get a lot more films that have a unique voice that feels more human and organic, and allows for audiences to develop that really appreciate that film. Because they appreciate that voice, that humane element that's from the auteur, that's from that leader.
And if Henry Matisse had 10 accountants standing behind him telling him how to make the most money for each painting, they probably wouldn't have been that good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Points would be arranged a little bit differently. Be a lot more geometric or something.
Something. Well, they would, whatever was hot at the time that would not be whatever's trendy. And so, and I actually, thanks to Adam submitting through your Film Freeway account, Sherman Oaks Film Festival was the world premiere, right?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's always, I know it's always a coincidence. I know it's just the timing of if another film festival would have premiered it if they'd come earlier in your road.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. I'm kind of glad we got to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also, I mean, I think maybe it scared people, festivals a little bit. It is, and
Was
it's
your
a
festival run a little hot and cold or?
experience. We actually, you were the only festival that took us.
Well, have I cursed yet? I mean, I normally curse really early in these podcasts. Maybe I'm being a little nicer because Kerri's here, but that's fucking bullshit. The fuck?
We have a couple
What the
more
fuck? Are they
festivals.
not watching the movie? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe I mean, there are a lot of sex scenes in the movie, and perhaps in the theatrical environment, that maybe that wasn't what people wanted for their festivals.
Maybe people are people are afraid of sex now, I guess. It used to, I mean,
Well, I think there's certain sex that's very acceptable, and there's certain sex that scares people. And I think, especially when we talk about the feminist sort of angle here, and I think you even said, very rightly, I think that this is like probably the least exploitative, sex scenes you had ever seen. And I agree. And I think that that scares people. I think people are really easy to accept, like, sex where women are raped, or sex when it's a hooker, or
yeah.
sex when,
Or it's
it's
just
like,
they're objectifying a woman to show how beautiful she is.
yes, or that, and I think, like, a perversion almost. People are almost okay when sex is shown as a perversion. Um,
Right.
but when sex is shown as a normal part of a relationship, and perhaps even female empowered on the female side, and with some comedy in it, and I think it makes people really uncomfortable.
You're probably right, which is
Yeah,
about. I do remember saying that it's the least exploitative because, first of all, it's intrinsic to the story. It's just
exactly.
it wasn't like this team said, "Well, if we have some nudity and some sex, it'll be easier to sell." Like, no, the story needed this part of it was just deeply part of the story,
Yeah.
and your character cares about her own pleasure,
Mhm.
which I can't name too many films about that have even a hint of that.
Hmm.
Even I shouldn't be criticizing successful Hollywood films, but I mean, even in that moderately feminist Barbie movie, there's actually I don't believe she gets any shot at saying I care about this. I want something for me. She's still in
Nope.
service of other people the whole movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But back to your film.
yeah,
Well, that just sucks. Well,
we did
I'm
win a
proud to be
couple,
part of
like,
a film festival
yeah.
that actually just looks at films for their quality and shows them based on quality. But I gotta admit, that's nonsense. More people. Oh, you know the real reason why your film wasn't in enough festivals?
Oh, what?
Maybe I shouldn't say this. No, it's because essentially a two-person cast shot in another country. So they look at it and go, they won't sell enough. They don't have, if you had a crew of 50 and a cast of 20, they'd be like, oh, they'll fill the theater for us. A lot of festivals don't care about the quality of the film. They care about selling tickets.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
another.
sure.
And it's also, I mean, it was a super low budget film. Neither of us are big stars. We don't have names. Nobody in it has a big name. Um, it's not a perfect film. It was definitely a labor of, love, and there were a lot of things we had to work with because that was just what we had, and, within our budget. Um, So I think that it's very, very competitive out there right now. And so when you have a couple strikes against you, a couple things that might make people, especially lower level people that are just weeding through things, a little uncomfortable. They're like, oh, there's no stars in it. There's a lot of sex. I don't know, maybe I feel uncomfortable recommending this to my higher up, like, so, but I think you're also right, like it's being a small crew, a small cast in a foreign country.
Our
Like for a festival, I think.
Our festival's aware that we lose money on every screening no matter what. So just don't worry about predicted turnout.
That's the kind of festival we need.
I mean, the nonprofit that runs the festivals is supported solely by the submission income.
Yeah.
Which leads to a dark joke that I've told at mixers, which is I'm like, because like when people demand, sometimes a feature film will ask for a screening fee from the festival, and they're like, well, because you're selling tickets and making money off our work, and I want to go, we're losing money on your work. All the bad films that didn't get selected are subsidizing your screening, because it really is that submission. The submission fees of the films that don't get in are the reason we can rent a gorgeous theater with leather recliners and beautiful projection. It's like, but we have to sell like 80% of that house to break even.
Yeah, but I will say, I mean, I've been to a lot of small festivals, and I think you guys put on one of the best, if not the best, small festival that I've ever been to. You could really tell that you cared. You did everything right, it was so lovely to see.
Thank you. Well, we've had, that was year 8. We had 8 years to work our shit out.
Oh, so,
first couple years we didn't have badges. Finally realized, oh shit, we got to get badges.
Yeah.
Oh shit, we got to get a better step and repeat. Oh shit, we got to do this. Oh shit, we got to do that.
Those things are important, and it's nice to see when festivals put the time and the money into doing that, because they're really important for the filmmakers, even for the films, and to make them get great pictures, great video, and all that kind of stuff for the marketing of it afterwards.
That's true. In fact, I guess we've added something. Wait, when you came, did we have the person with the red on the red carpet doing the interviews?
No, well, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
you did,
right.
But maybe after the fact.
I just remember that there was another day that there was something else also happening. That I think maybe it was like a famous person or something came like on the next day, and there was like there was like some big photo shoot or something. Because you had an interviewer on the day that we were there. Mm-hmm. But the day after, I think there was like something that happened at your step and repeat. I don't remember what it was exactly.
It might have just been another film that. Yeah. To be honest.
Yeah. I don't really.
We don't do anything different on the festival side. Every film is treated the same. Doesn't matter if they have a recognizable somebody or not. But we very rarely have somebodies.
Yeah, we had an interviewer. It was nice.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was fantastic. No, I thought you guys put together a really awesome festival.
Well, without awesome films, we are nothing.
Well, and you guys picked really good films. Every film that I watched at the festival was incredible. I was so honored that you picked our film to screen alongside these other films, because most of the other films went to a lot more festivals. We were definitely probably maybe the smallest, probably the lowest budget feature film that you screened.
Would be, although the opening night one I think was pretty low budget, but yeah. I mean, but in the end, yes, no. I mean, obviously, I agree with you as the festival runner. Like, yeah, we don't show a bad movie. I honestly like. We did the first year. And then I realized, because, it's a jury, and when someone else champions something, I'm like, cool. And then I realized I'm the one who has to do the fucking Q&A, and I'm the one, like, in the room, like, the look people give you when they see a piece of shit movie in the festival that you're the face of. No, I can't live that way. All the films have to be good. Or I'm out. You know what I mean? So
like that.
Well, that's important, you know. I mean, that's the whole reason that I feel like festivals like yours are doing a great service. We have to be supporting all of these independent voices that have a unique look. You know, we have to be cultivating that. Otherwise, I don't want to be watching all of these movies made by committee that are boring.
There's so many bad movies that go to
Yeah.
big indie festivals
Yeah,
these
yeah,
days.
yeah,
The
yeah.
Tribecas, the
I mean, it's a joke.
Senpais.
I really feel like a
So many
lot more
bad
people,
movies.
more than ever before, view most festivals as a scam, a joke, um, an industry normalization, you know?
It's like sometimes, it'll be 60-70% of the features that they accept, have big stars, come from big, indie.
You can tell when the people running it are star fuckers.
Yeah, and then there's, maybe a handful of features that are really coming from new people, low budgets, small production companies. It's barely any. I mean, there are a few, but it's barely any. It's
A lot of
so
it is
dominated
so
by
profit driven.
even those lower budget, smaller production companies. They are often still will have a name or two in the film in order to get them into a festival.
Probably. And I've heard, sometimes you just pay one person half the budget to work one day,
Oh,
and then you
absolutely.
have that name that sells well in a certain territory.
But then you get into festival. I mean, that's the whole business marketing side, right? I mean, that is, that's the smart business marketing thing to do. I don't blame them. But
It is. I don't blame them either, but we've got to have an alternative. There's got to be, for lack of a better analogy, a punk rock scene.
yeah,
Well, that's why festivals like yours are great. I would love to see more of those.
and there's so much opportunity these days. There are so many outlets for film, online. It's never been easier to distribute your film. But I think it's never been easier to make a film or distribute them, but that's a double-edged sword
But it's
because
still never been as hard. It's as hard as it's ever been to get eyeballs.
exactly,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
now there's so many more films out there because it's
Yeah,
so
exactly.
cheap to make a film and it's so easy to distribute it that so much of it is in that marketing and in how you get that product or product with film in front of people, and that can be really really hard to break through um, all the algorithms and
It's really hard. I
yeah.
keep trying to solve the puzzle myself, but I am
Yeah.
but one person.
I mean, right now, like we're making, in prep for our July 2nd release, we're making a bunch of TikTok videos with BTS and, basically we're making 30 ads, hopefully that are engaging enough that people that
Right? You have to play that right. So you're playing that game and you're like, okay, we've got to give in and make it portrait vertical imagery for a beautiful film that's shot 16:9, or is it wider? I might be wider, but
it is wider.
It depends. I mean,
Yeah, it's
the
wider.
whole thing is that, from my perspective, it's all about the content. If the content is good, then that's the number one thing. Outside of that, it's just about being flexible, adaptable, and creating more and more content.
Mhm.
You know,
I think that what matters is the film and if the film is good.
Exactly. If the
But all
film
the
is
other
good.
stuff have to get people to watch it because sometimes, especially like a indie film or an art house film, you don't have a big name, you don't have these marketing hooks. You need to sort of create them in a different way, which is just all work as funnels to get somebody to actually watch the movie. And if the movie's not good, it's not good. But
Yeah.
if you can get people at least some eyeballs on it and it has any value, then I think uh, you can have a little bit of a life there.
yeah, and the hope is that when a movie is good and yours is good, people, hopefully that growth can happen naturally and enough people see it. And most people who care deeply about it will have friends who care deeply about indie cinema or just quality cinema. And hopefully it can work. It takes time.
Yeah.
I can say personally that, for years, I do the TV series on Prime Video Direct where we just take, we take short films because shorts have nowhere to go. So we would create a season of 10 half-hour episodes of short films compiled together, like 3 or 4 films per episode. And first season had a certain number of viewings. Second, by the third season, the algorithms on Prime Video, we were getting 10,000 unique viewers a week.
Wow.
And so there is actually human beings who've never heard of the films, never heard of the people in the films, watching it because they were good.
Great.
And then Amazon pulled the plug on us and said, you can't be included with Prime. You have to charge 99 cents an episode. So we went from 10,000 a week to under 100 a week.
Oh, wow.
But that 10,000 probably could have been 100,000, even a mil. Like, people really do like these films. They just need to see it to find out.
Yeah.
And most people don't even know how good the films on the festival circuit are, right?
No, I mean, they're never going to see them.
Well, that's the thing, that they often, these smaller films with, lower budgets without big names, they don't get picked up by those distribution companies that'll put all the marketing money and everything into them. They have no business reason to do it. And so people just don't even know that they're being made. The average person, or even, most people, that if they're not involved in film, an independent film, and in that area, they just think that the movies that they're kind of spoon fed are all the movies that are made.
100%. And they even, I mean, I've had like the parents of a director or actor come up to me after a screening, like in the lobby of the theater, and say, I had no idea there were so many good films out there. Like they're literally like, they just sat through a block of 4 shorts. They're like, I loved all 4 of those films. I'm like, that means you would love the whole week of this festival. Like, there's really great stuff out there. We just have to get people tuned into it.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully this can help. Hopefully it'll help. Hopefully,
exactly.
Hopefully
That's
your
what
TikTok videos.
Please watch Little Deaths. Streaming starting July 2nd.
At least it's a fairly unique title, I think, and people can search for Little Deaths.
Yeah, there's only a couple other films with that title. I think we come up on maybe the second hit or so. So it's pretty easy to find us.
And it'll start off as TVOD, which means like, whatever. I'm sure you don't get to set the price, but it'll be on Apple and Amazon Prime and all the services that allow you to pay $6.99 or $8.99. I would say to anyone listening, don't wait till it's free somewhere with commercials on one of those other platforms. They went to Mexico and made a fucking movie in caves. Give them $8, $9. Is that so much to ask?
It helps a lot. Also, I don't know if people realize how much it helps when people buy the movie when it is available for purchase. And I think our movie's coming out. I have the Vimeo on demand because it's like pre-order right now. You can rent the movie for $2.99.
Okay, so you didn't even go super greedy, right? So $2.99 to watch a 90-minute-ish film. I pulled that number out of my butt. I don't remember how long with the runtime.
80 minutes.
6 minutes.
80.
But you can sit and think about it for another 10 minutes in darkness. That's part of it.
Or go back and look at the show, at the video recording of the Q&A with the two of you and the director at Sherman Oaks Film Festival, and they can even watch it twice for $6.
Yeah, you can watch it. I don't know if you rent a film. I think you can watch it as many times as you want within a period of time. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like 24 hours or 48. Or there can be a 1-week rental. Yeah, Jimmy will be
over and over and over again for 24 hours. But yeah, it helps a lot because, like you were talking about algorithms. When Amazon sees that people are buying it, then they promote it. Also, what really helps is going on IMDb and giving it a rating. giving a review, hopefully a good one, because your rating on IMDb is what Amazon polls to decide what to promote as well. And that's also, what people, international buyers and things look at your IMDb rating. So that's really important. Going on social media and sharing it or saying, hey, I watched this film. It was really good. It's such easy things that people can do. But I think so many people these days, and I'm guilty of it, sometimes we forget that there are small people, just regular people doing things and making things, because we get bogged down by all these giant companies and corporations that are kind of faceless and nameless. And, we're like, oh, well, we don't need to share something about them. They got everything figured out. And they don't realize, like, there's just a couple people making something sometimes. And it really helps a lot, just to give it a like or a share or any of that.
Absolutely. And they should go find the social media and the TikToks and comment and like that stuff and boost the algorithmic amplification.
Absolutely. We're gonna
My
have
least favorite term.
a bunch of TikTok videos that we're going to share on our Twitter and on our Instagram. We have a lot of really funny BTS. We have like kind of some making of, some how did we do these kind of videos, some stuff just about the Yucatan, because we love Merida. We love the Yucatan. I think it's such a fantastic place. So we're going to have a lot of videos that integrate some of the movie, some clips from the movie, and some that don't, that are just about different aspects, and hopefully that'll be entertaining as well. So
Excellent. Well, you're making a very professional. This is a refreshingly professional approach to. Well, there is a distributor involved, I suppose, but your involvement shows that it's a fairly indie distribution with the filmmakers deeply involved.
Yeah, because at this kind of level, you get a distributor, but they don't do really much marketing and that and all of that. They rely on you, which is fine. Because those distributors that do all that marketing, usually they give you kind of a set fee, and then you don't ever see any more money. So there's good and bad to both.
No, for the next 20 years, you get a quarterly email that says, here's how much money we gave you. Here's not as much as that we've spent. You get nothing.
Yeah. So, it's difficult for an indie film to find a distributor that doesn't try to act like that, like a big studio, and sort of keep all the money as expenses. And hopefully the distributor that we chose, Studio Dome, will do us right. I think so. They came with some good recommendations, and the CEO of that company, Shakid Berenson, he really loves film, and he loved our film, and I think I don't know if you know him or have ever heard of him or know anybody that have worked with Studio Dome, but many people have told me that they've done very right by them. So that's good.
Oh, I'm glad to hear of him, actually. I'll ask you more about him when we're not recording.
Yeah.
But we've mentioned the social media and stuff. You want to say what the TikTok and Instagram, is it all the same handle? Is it all the same at something?
Yeah, well, our Instagram is Little Deaths Movie, at Little Deaths Movie. Our TikTok is just my production company, which is at 2293 Productions. And the Twitter is also at 2293 Productions. And then our website is the same, littledeathsmovie.com. And my
2293 Productions?
2293 Productions, which is my production company. And I'm kind of spearheading the marketing part, so it's all just going through my handle.
And before I asked you to repeat it, so I got it written down correctly for Calvin. Hey, Calvin, do you and you were about to mention your personal, I thought?
Oh yeah, my personal Instagram is Kerri Lee Romeo, just at Kerri Lee Romeo.
Yeah, mine's Adam Leotta, just my name.
You both have unique enough names. I'm quite jealous. Needless to say, I could not get any Jeff Howards.
Yeah, well,
You have to do the real Jeff Howard.
I'm sure someone beat me to that too.
yeah.
All right, well, excellent. I guess I'll go on my closing spiel so that we can wrap this up. Where am I going to start? All right, well, thank you everyone for listening to the Discover Indie Film podcast. Learn more about it at discoveryindiefilm.com. On social media, it's always at DIFwins. You should definitely see the film that Kerri and Adam contributed to, of both producing and acting. Just search for Little Deaths. Everywhere movies can be rented, I'm sure it'll be generally rentable. As we said, watch it while it can be rented. And you know what? If you don't like it, just send me an email, and then I'll have a nice debate with you over the film because I will. I got when you make T-shirts, I'll wear one. I can't even imagine a Little Death shirt, but so that's the podcast. And hey, during this, if you were listening, I mentioned the TV series. It's also called Discover Indie Film. Just go to Amazon Prime Video and search for Discover Indie Film. It's between us and Discover India. Once you get that E in Indie, it auto-completes. And right now there's 7 seasons. So 70 episodes of short films, just handpicked from the festival circuit. Great indie stuff. And we talked about Sherman Oaks Film Festival, and Adam and Kerri said such nice things about it. We hold it every December. It's ShermanOaksFF.com and at ShermanOaksFF on social media. It's sister festival that we hold every June, which means I'm shitting bricks because it's in less than 2 weeks. And that's Film Invasion Los Angeles, and you can learn more if you go to filminvasionla.com, and it's at Film Invasion LA on social media. And the last thing is, because I have no respect for my personal time, I got stupid and started a thing. I shouldn't say that. I started a wonderful thing called WatchTVHi.com. It's a smart TV app on Roku, Amazon, Fire TV, Apple TV, Android TV, iPhone and Android mobile. It is actually a smart TV app / streaming service filled with 99%. It's almost all indie films, but there's some stand-up comedy and stuff, and it's just high quality stuff. It is called Watch TV High because everything is also supposed to be even better when you're stoned. But trust me, you don't have to be stoned to watch great films. But it doesn't hurt. Although I've never watched Little Death stoned, but maybe someday. I don't know. I don't see it as that kind of film, but it is definitely of the highest caliber. So honestly, all art is pretty wonderful. So with that, I'll thank you both.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And thank you everyone for listening.
Yeah.